Good morning, everybody, and we are reporting from Surf Corp from Tornado Tower. Welcome back to my Life Map podcast. Since our return, this is our second episode. Today, we have a very interesting guest from Kuwait, and we are going to be talking about different ventures of her life. How did she get to where she is today? What's her next mountain? And how does she plan to maneuver through it? Um, so with us today is Fouz Fahad Al-Sabah. Welcome to my Life Map podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much for being here. Fouz, so what we usually do is we give our guests the opportunity to introduce themselves in the way that they would prefer.
Okay.
So, floor is yours. Fly.
Okay. So the way that I'd like to introduce myself is that I'm a passionate person that wants to help other passionate people pursue their passions.
Interesting. Too much
Basically.
passion in that sentence.
I know, right?
All right. So tell me, where is your passion?
My passion is basically pursuing anything that is related to creativity, self-expression, and following my curiosity and helping other people follow their curiosity as well.
Okay. So I'm going to just take us a bit to the present and then I'm going to drop a question about the past. So, founder, CEO of Khaleejesque, a creative media consultancy, editor in chief.
The list goes on and
the
on,
list goes
right?
on. Hey, the list goes on. Hey, very interesting list. However, I'm not going to dive into those right now. I'm going to go a bit back. So, where did it all start?
So, where did it all start? Officially or unofficially?
لا, give me the unofficial. نحن we like the unofficial story.
The unofficial.
So let's go. I would like to dive into the pre-university time.
Okay, the pre-university time.
Hey.
Okay. So basically, I can start from middle school, high school. That's, I would say, my origin story.
Okay.
And explains why I'm doing what I'm doing right now.
Yep.
So back in the day, I was always the curious kind of kid trying to figure out, how to do new stuff, problem solve. If there's any obstacles, how can I not get my way, but the solution that,
Nice way to put it.
Yeah,
Hey, nice
creative
way to put
solution.
It.
For example, there was a time when, I had a lot of DVDs.
Okay.
And then my parents were like, you're not getting any more allowance to buy more DVDs. And then I said, what can I do to kind of use the assets and the resources that I have
to get more DVDs?
To get more DVDs. So what I ended up doing is basically writing down all of the names of the movies that we had into kind of a card, and I distributed it in class, in school, and basically rented out the DVDs.
Oh, so you were renting them out?
Yes, renting them out, and from the income that I got, I would buy more DVDs and increase my collection and
rent more.
And then I didn't have to ask my parents for.
How long did it take you until your parents discovered you were doing this?
Yeah, a couple of weeks. But after that, they were like, "Bravo! Actually, you know what? That's
good job.
That's good business sense, good business thinking." Similarly with posters in magazines back in the day when we were kids, boy bands, and we wanted the posters all over.
Backstreet Boys,
NSYNC, you name it. So my sisters and I love to put the posters all over the room. And then one day my mother was like, "This is not working. No posters on.
No more posters.
No
on
posters
the wall.
on the walls." And then I was like, "That's a shame. Like, what am I gonna do with all of these posters?" Again, problem solving. I put all of the posters in folders. Took them to school one day. I was like 8, 9, probably. I don't know what I was thinking, honestly. And then I basically told the other girls, like, "Listen, I have a stash of posters." And each poster was either A4 or the ones that unfolded. Each one had a different price. Yeah. And then I basically sold the posters and got, income to buy more magazines. And so back then, I didn't know it then, but I was always trying to figure out what I can do with obstacles or kind of situations that weren't in my favor.
Working in your
Yeah,
favor.
how can I change it? And that went all the way through middle school, high school. Went to work in the student council. Problem solving there. Working in university, in the admissions office, in the student council,
Right.
student affairs. So it was all about helping people, figuring out how I want to grow, how I want to challenge myself, put myself in new situations. And I owe it all to my curiosity, honestly. I'm a very curious person.
So it's all about wanting to know more.
Exactly.
Ask, get to know, understand a bit more.
And grow.
Okay.
That's the main thing, grow.
Growth.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm just going to take a step back. So, I mean, I would love to send a message to my sister. That's what they do with Backstreet Boys posters. Yeah.
It's never too
I'm
late.
like, she used to have them all over the room, and I'm like, why? Like, why would I wake up to a poster right on top of my face? But that was pretty interesting though. So how did, or like, let me put this. So what was it tough, or was it a bit hard, or did you maybe face any challenges in terms of your friends and how they would, like, again, like, you're a kid at school selling posters, making money, rather than talking about comic books or madri شنو. Uh, like, what circle did you have around you back then?
I basically mingled with everyone. With I didn't have an issue with, I guess, all of the different cliques or groups. I was easygoing with everyone. I loved learning from the different types of people around me.
Okay.
And they thought what I was doing was amusing. They some of them
Laughed.
yeah, they laughed and they were like, "Oh, that's cool. That's funny. I mean, what are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm just gonna do me." And at the end of the day, that also kind of helped me to forge a path towards not really caring what people think.
Right.
From a very young age, it's like you have a goal, you want to do this, even if it's silly, it's
Doesn't make sense
nonsense,
to
it doesn't make
others.
sense, as long as you're enjoying it and learning along the way and earning money as well
In the
in the
process.
process. Why not just do you? And from a very young age, and I'm happy that I went through that experience, because it gave me the courage to be able to just own everything that I do. If someone likes it, okay, great. If they don't, doesn't really matter.
You're gonna keep doing you.
Yeah, no, definitely.
How did your parents take it though? Would they challenge you? Would they encourage you? Would they have a conversation with you about why are you doing this?
I mean, my parents were very supportive. Honestly, they gave us the freedom to dream big, to kind of explore our curiosity, and they would just laugh. Honestly, I would come home and then just tell them, all of these stories. Yeah, I did this. I have this idea. I had so many ideas, by the way. So I guess I was a source of entertainment
Okay,
for
hello,
them.
nice. Okay,
But at the end of the day, they nurtured that sense. Okay, Foz has a business sense. She wants to go into that. She has a sense of independence, not to restrict me. And they never told me, oh, you should be XYZ, this career, do that. They were like, do whatever you feel is best for you. And I owe it to them. They did not pressure neither me or my siblings. They were always supportive in any kind of track or any path that we wanted to follow. And I guess that was very modern of them.
it was because
Yeah,
and our culture isn't that supportive of you doing things which are not status quo.
at all.
I am.
Exactly. And I owe it to them beyond measure, because at the end of the day, I did go on a path that was so against the status quo in so many different ways. And if they weren't supportive, I don't think I would be where I am
Would
today.
have been able to do it. And we send them regards, and we send them blessings for allowing a creative person to exist today, sitting with us on the pod. Um, so take me. So you're done. You were done with. So that was your business side of the school. How did that start to develop? Did it develop with time? So at university, did you also have your own business ventures?
I was a student worker, so yeah, that took a lot of my time.
Can I ask which, like around which timeline was it?
So I started university in 2004.
So you were working and studying in
I
2004
Yes,
in Kuwait,
yes,
which again wasn't a norm
no,
back in the day.
at all. And
Okay.
every single person till this day, they would tell me, "Inshallah had," which is basically, why would you do this to yourself?
Why would you do that to
I
yourself?
don't know. No, no, no. I think it's just a matter of, again, being curious, trying to figure out my limits, wanting to push myself, wanting to grow, wanting to understand, wanting to help. So, as a student worker in student affairs, we were in charge of doing all of the events for basically the students. And through that, I learned how to plan events, do all the budgets, confirm sponsors. So again, that's a learning process. And then when I was a student worker at academic affairs, I was literally going through all of the applicants that wanted to teach at the university.
So you were filtering the future
Yes,
teachers.
yes. So I understood what a successful or a winning CV looks like, and I was like, okay, this is something to keep in mind. Do you know what I mean? So again, in these situations, I learned a lot. I learned how to um, work with university professors, work within a different environment while
Yeah.
also studying. And I guess yeah, I just like to expand my horizons, so to say.
But I mean, at that age, don't you think? I mean, I see through your lens as well because I went through a similar journey as well, where I was a student worker. Um, but that came with a price.
Oh yeah, everything comes with a price.
What was your price?
My price was basically not having a lot of time
To
to hang out with my friends, to go out and all of that. And obviously the workload, other than, the studying, I also was working.
yeah,
So it was a very hectic schedule. But I guess you make it work. And at the end of the day, this process basically expands, um, let's say, your ability, your endurance, your capability. You learn how to work smart, not work hard. So there's always an upside to kind of the sacrifice.
did you ever cry because you weren't out with your friends that you were working?
Uh, not in university when I was doing my master's in London. Yeah,
You did.
yeah, but that's when I started Khaleejesque and I was working basically on the weekends. And I was like, why am I doing this to myself? I should be enjoying my weekend with my friends, but I was like diligently just, working on content, working with the team, making sure that everything was on schedule. But yeah, I mean, it happens. Like there are emotional times,
Breakdowns.
not breakdowns, but it's just like a good cry, like a 1 good hour good cry. Just get it out, and then I'm like back in the
So
motion.
there was some content mixed with tears while you were working
Oh
on it.
yeah, oh yeah, all the time, all the time. It's
Wow.
normal. It's normal. It's part of the entrepreneur's journey, I guess.
So you started your own. So you've never been through corporate, just except
Never.
when you
Yeah.
were at university. Yeah, that's mini corporate sort of thing. But you've
Yes.
never been on an official 9 to 5.
Never.
Why not?
I don't think that I would thrive in a 9 to 5. I mean, I know that I appreciate my freedom, and I know that at that age, when I graduated, I had bigger aspirations than just working, a 9 to 5. And I felt that I wanted to take the leap and try out my own thing. If it worked, it worked. If it didn't, it didn't. And then possibly, think of a 9 to 5 down the line as a another option or a
Backup.
backup plan. But I guess it worked out.
It worked out. Here we are.
Yeah.
So you started Khaleejesque while you were studying your master's.
Yes.
All right. Tell us a bit about it. What inspired you to start it? What do you do with Khaleejesque?
Okay. So Khaleejesque basically was a concept by myself and my cousin back in university. This was, I always tell people, this was pre-Instagram. This was all, when we had Facebook back in 2009, we didn't really know what was going on around in the region. News was only focusing on, politics or war or all of these different things that, you know, were very, I don't want to say surface level, but it didn't really talk about the people, yeah, on the ground and the culture and the creative movements that were happening. So we took it upon ourselves. We're writers, by the way. We love to write. We took it upon ourselves to work on it. It was a passion project. We had no plans to turn it into a business in any way, shape, or form. So we started Khaleejesque. We recruited writers, illustrators, photographers from across Al Khalij.
Okay.
Hence the name Khaleejesque, which means spirit of the Gulf.
So
Arabesque,
like
Khaleejesque.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we launched June 1st in 2009.
Okay.
And the journey hasn't stopped since. There was a lot of ups and downs, but at the end of the day, why we launched Khaleejesque is to highlight the beauty of our creative and cultural scenes. Bil Khalij. There was a lot going on. No one had any idea of the people that are working on the ground, and we felt that it was a responsibility to highlight that, to connect people to each other, to showcase their stories. And we started with an amazing team and worked with so many beautiful people. And then slowly it started expanding. Like, okay, yeah, it was overwhelming. And again, in 2009, I went to London to do my master's, and I had no idea how I was going to balance both, but I made it work, alhamdulillah. And funnily enough, during my master's, there was an internship course, and I managed to convince them that Khaleejesque was my internship.
Smart.
I know, right?
Nice. Okay. You sort of recycled your own internship.
Exactly. Problem solving, I'm telling you. So it worked out that way.
Getting your way every time.
Yeah. So after that, after graduation, focused seriously into kind of developing it into a business. So we incorporated in 2011 as a media business or media company.
Okay.
Started that way. We started printing because back then, back in Kuwait, you couldn't have a media license unless you print.
Oh, okay.
Which, yeah, was weird, but we
Okay.
made it work. We wanted to be a digital first platform.
Okay.
So we had to print. Even then, that was a learning curve. And again, it really expanded, I guess, my creativity. And I went, dive deep into the publishing industry and the printing process and all of that. I fell in love with it. But again, that was a whole other beast, just, running a magazine. And then we did publications for clients, and we did content for clients.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And balancing out the media platform that already had Khaleejesque. So it was a very, very busy time. Up until 2015, we had probably the biggest client doing the publication for them, and the team expanded rapidly. And then I noticed that I was miserable. I did not enjoy it. I did not.
Let's pause there for a minute. So, thing that you're passionate about, thing that you spend your content creation time while you were doing your masters, probably mixed that time with tears and a downtime with yourself. You suddenly discovered was also causing you to be miserable?
Because at that time, the everything was so I would say volatile. There was a lot of shifts and changes. The team grew uh, very quickly. The clients that we were working with grew very quickly, and then you know, from the outside, people would say, "Oh, they're doing great. You know, they're developing," and we had people wanting to kind of invest and all of that. And I'm like, okay, on paper, like we have the corner office, we have the office in the tower, and a big team, and oh, we must be doing well. But actually, when I had the time to reflect on it, I was noticing that the team was burnt out because working in the publishing industry is like so time consuming, very mentally challenging, and dealing with clients, especially when it comes to creative work, isn't the easiest. I noticed that they weren't enjoying what they were doing. I noticed that we really weren't doing meaningful work. We were focusing more on client work, which is more or less, very commercial and all of that. And then I noticed that the everyone is programmed in a certain way to think of success as a certain formula. You need to be growing. You need to, raise this
Client,
much, yeah, amount of
clientele.
funds, so many clients, increase your team. That means you're succeeding. That couldn't be,
What
far
success
from the
is?
truth. Yeah, and had a moment of clarity, and we transitioned after 2017. Also, my partner kind of left.
Okay, your cousin?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was a solo
So
entrepreneur.
you were on your own.
Yes. Yeah. That was another challenge in of itself. I had no idea how I would make it work. And then during that transition phase, basically like stop, let's readdress, let's reflect, let's redirect, and slowly we transitioned into a consultancy focusing on strategy work, focusing on, clients that we want to work with, projects that we feel would have an impact, things that we were obsessed with, excited about. So the whole kind of filtration process of what work do we want to do changed completely, shrunk the team, became much more agile, much more flexible, and the joy started coming back.
Okay.
Yeah.
So would you say you're the I mean the miserable life that dropped into your lifeline? Uh, was it because that the team grew beyond what you could manage, or would you say it's because there were a lot of there was a lot right on top of your head which you couldn't manage? Would you say it's because your cousin left, or is it everything together?
Everything together for sure. Everything. It was like a, perfect storm of so many different things
Like you're like,
happening.
oh,
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, but I mean, it's these moments are clarifying. I would say these moments are inflection points. They happen for a reason to kind of stop you and make you think, is this the path that you want to continue? Or do you want to take a pause and redirect?
How hard was it to let go of what you had to let go of?
It wasn't hard.
No?
Honestly, it wasn't hard. I really believe that if you're if you believe that this is the right path that you should follow, it will be a path of ease and it will flow. And it did. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
Inshallah, it always keeps on flowing. Okay. So where are you now? What are you doing now?
Okay. Now, basically focusing on balancing the consultancy and the media platform. Alhamdulillah, we are working with amazing people, working with governments, private sector. The meaningful work to me is when we can make a change, especially for creatives, because I really, identify with them and I understand their struggles and I want to make their life easier. If it's working with governments, helping them, create creative economy strategies and policies, investment projects, I'm all into that.
Okay.
Whether it's working with the private sector when it comes to training programs, boot camps for creatives, in with that. And also when it comes to helping the grassroots creative communities, sharing their stories, connecting them in community events. That's something that we're focusing on as well. So it's a nice balance between all of these different groups.
What would you say is the biggest challenge that creatives face?
Imposter syndrome.
Tell me a bit about that.
Honestly, I feel like to be creative, you are automatically courageous. It takes a lot of courage to be creative, but not a lot of creatives understand that or acknowledge that. They just think that, oh, it's just something that I do. And then when they do have any art or content that they create and that they want to share, there is that hesitancy. Oh, I'm not good enough. People are gonna judge me. What am I doing? What am I
Society is not
thinking?
gonna accept.
Exactly. So I think that's the first barrier, the imposter syndrome, and not really believing in yourself. And then obviously for the creators that are out there, and especially people running creative businesses, it's that not a lot of people understand the dynamics of a creative business, what it takes to run a creative business, how to make it sustainable. And that's something that I'm very passionate about, to help people have the business skills. So I graduated with a business background in
Right.
marketing and
Yes.
finance. And then I did my master's in the creative and cultural industries.
Okay.
So
Oh,
it was the
interesting.
perfect mix of kind of business and creativity.
Brought them together.
Yeah. By the way, I wanted to be a fine artist when I graduated high school, and then my parents said no way. So that's why I have a chip on my shoulder. I'm like, no one's going to go through that. If anyone wants to be a fine artist, we have to make sure that people understand that it is a viable career. It can be, and there is acceptance for that. Alhamdulillah, now there is, but back then there wasn't.
What was the fear back then? Why did your parents?
Because there wasn't any university that offered fine arts, and they
Okay.
didn't want me to travel.
Okay.
Yeah. So I made it work again when I did my master's. I'm like, I'm doing something
Something is missing.
creative.
I would love to.
Yeah, I want to get that creative element into the thing that I studied previously, like business. So alhamdulillah, it worked out. And now that's my passion. Again, going back to the
Your
introduction.
intro.
Yeah, I want to make sure that no one has to go through what I went through. If you have a passion, if you're creative, you want to pursue your creativity, that you have the access, the opportunities, the knowledge, the resources to do that.
So you sort of want to provide that platform for people
Yes,
to bring out their creativity.
exactly. And have the government support them, work with the government so that they understand the creative industries and what they can do to create a thriving creative economy or industry. With the government as well, the private sector as well, what they can do to help
Support.
support creatives and creative businesses. And since 2018, 2019, creative economy has been the buzzword,
Yep.
has been the hot word, which is great. But at the same time, you don't want people to hijack it and then just overuse it and not really understand it. And that's something, again, that I'm so passionate about. It's like, you need to take it slow. You need to make sure that whatever you're doing is not harming the creative ecosystem and the creatives and not giving the creative economy a bad name.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of kind of advocacy and going out there and making the case for the creative industry.
For the creative industry.
Yeah.
What would you say is, or feel free to share with us if you would like to. What is the hardest conversation to have, especially with governmental bodies? So, what are the hardest conversations to have? Especially, we know like governments usually prefer to run on um, clear protocols, clear action plans, clear processes. And then you walk in and you're like, hey, hello, creative ecosystems. And we know that with creativity, there is a high risk of failure. With creativity, there comes a high risk to manage change, which comes with a high accountability rate, which comes with accepting that innovation means it might not work out the first time, it might not work out the second,
Mm.
might take us 10 times. So we have to have resilience towards failure. How do you maneuver all those conversations? Yani,
Very good question.
thank
Very good
you.
question. I like to say sometimes that I'm a professional troublemaker because
Hello.
I deal
Hmm.
with these
Nice.
conversations all the time, and I'm very frank and transparent. And I tell people, do you want me to say what you want to hear, or do you want me to say what you need to hear? And yeah, and that's the first thing that basically I say. I can tell you, like, what you want to hear, or I
Bravo,
can
you're
tell
doing
you,
great,
yeah,
or I
or I
can tell
can tell
you
you
that.
facts.
Right.
And you're 100% right. Most of the people that talk about the creative industries, they want basically, okay, if I'm going to invest this amount, what's the ROI? I'm like, that's not how it works. Okay, I understand that you're coming from a financial background and all of that, and you want basically to see the impact, but the creative industries is such a dynamic sector that you can't really think of it that way. You need
Not tangible.
exactly, and it's all about intellectual capital. You can't see the assets and the resources. The assets is basically your ideas. That are basic in your mind.
Yep.
So it's hard to quantify them. It's hard to understand the value or put it down in numbers. Actually, there are new models now to monetize, yeah, the intellectual capital. So that's another story completely. But it's that conversation. It's understanding their fears and where they're coming from, and it's a learning curve. It's a lot of education. It's introducing the creative industries to them and how dynamic it is. Sharing case studies, around the world. Like the most famous case studies, basically South Korea and K-pop.
Okay.
So it's showing them practical,
How?
yes, projects, and it didn't happen in a year. It took years. It took a lot of dedication and effort and faith that, one day it's going to have a return. But until then, you need to have a clear plan, a strategy, and the confidence that if you invest in creatives today, you're going to see so many success projects down the line.
Could you maybe share a little bit of insight about South Korea and how, like, share with us that example, because I would just love people to understand as well the approach.
Mm-mm.
And then I'll ask you to share with us a success story from the region as well, because I think that's also very important.
Okay. So when it comes to South Korea, they had an agency completely dedicated to develop the creative industries in South Korea.
Okay.
And they focused on music, entertainment,
Okay.
K-pop, and they went all in, hiring the best people to train, develop when it comes to content creation, publishing, distribution, everything. And they dedicated so much time and so much investment, hundreds of millions of dollars. Yani it's not something that they took lightly.
Okay.
But now you can see the impact of it all over the world. Years later, and that's another form of soft power as well. Back in the day, it was American culture, with TV shows and all of that. So again, when it comes to creativity, there is that soft power. It's how you can share your culture in such a very, I would say, effortless way.
Smooth.
Yeah, smooth way, effortless way, and in an enjoyable way as well. So that is something that they've done successfully, and it's been booming till this day. It's not stopping
100%.
anytime soon. So that's for South Korea. In the region, again, since 2018, there has been heavy investment in the creative economy, spearheaded especially in Saudi Arabia, when it comes to all of the different commissions that they created, visual arts, architecture, design, film commissions, culinary arts, you name it. They have so many different ones.
Areas.
And again, they invested. The government invested. They were the leaders in this change. And again, this had to do with the soft power, which I admire so much because you can see now.
You see the results now.
You see the results now, but they were working on it since 2018. Similarly, in the UAE, Dubai and Abu Dhabi, being kind of the design and art hubs, they've been doing all of these events and festivals, years ago. Here in Qatar, when it comes to the universities, VCU Arts Qatar, they celebrated 25 years.
Yeah.
So the investment in education when it comes to the arts and the creative industries is there in different ways in the different countries, which is amazing.
It's amazing. Absolutely.
Because,
yes.
Yeah. So you see how each country is approaching this. But again, it takes time. It takes time to nurture and develop creatives and to develop a creative industry so that when people graduate, there are careers, there is an ecosystem. And what's most exciting now is the film and game sectors that are
100%.
booming.
Yep.
That are booming in the region. Everyone wants to basically be in that sector, as well as kind of creative technologies, AI, and all of that. So it's like forward-thinking technology, and it all goes back to creativity being the fuel for innovation. That's something that I believe in 100%. If you're creative, you have the opportunity to test, experiment, fail, and that's what innovation is all about. You need to be creative.
And you need to be accepting to fail.
Exactly.
Right. So what would you say is the biggest challenge that creatives themselves face in our region? So you yourself could also be an example, but we still see that there is a bit of resistance, even if we're looking at the governments trying to push through. But we also might see a bit of maybe a cultural clash. We might see status clash. We might see social acceptance clash. Maybe all of the above.
How much time do you have?
We're okay. We're still okay. We're okay on time as long as you are. But I would just want to maybe touch base on, because again, like as you said, like at the university level, universities are pushing, governments are pushing, the Ministry of Education and Higher Education as well. Bless them, they're doing some amazing work in Qatar and around the region as well. The other ministries, Ministry of Culture in Saudi Arabia, they're doing an amazing piece of work as well. I was there a couple of weeks ago. But there is still a couple of things or challenges that the creatives themselves face. It could be internal, it could be external. So maybe if we could touch base on a couple of those.
Sure.
Just so that we can realize it when we hear it. Sometimes you could go through it and you could not know that you are going through it. But,
So let's start internally. I think when creatives are in their zone, they're creating, they're focusing on their talents and their skills and how good a piece of content is or an artwork is. If their film is good, if their design, they're designing a product, if it's any good, but it doesn't stop there. Like talent and creativity is only one aspect of it, and I always tell people that it's probably 10%.
Oh wow.
Of your success, of what will determine your success. The 90% is basically the business skills. How can you market yourself? Okay. How can you deal with clients? How can you make sure that you are at events or specific places to expand your network, to expand your opportunities? Because it's not just about being talented. You could be the most talented person in the room, but if you don't have these essential, I would say, professional skills, then you probably will not go as far as you want to go. Because being a creative freelancer, professional, creative business owner, you really need to think about the business sides of things. Make sure that you know how to balance your budget, make sure that you have enough runway,
Financial literacy.
exactly, and how to hire the right people, build an exceptional team, manage clients, manage projects, which not a lot of people enjoy, but yeah, especially creatives. That's the last thing that they enjoy, but that is something that's a must now. If you really want to stand out, especially in this crowded market, you really need to embrace all of these skills because they will, take you to places that you never dreamed of. So that's internally. Externally, again, the status quo thing is a huge part. Creative careers are not seen as respected or respectful
100%.
careers. It's something that's
You do for fun.
Exactly. It's a hobby.
Don't tell me you want to pursue this for life.
It's nice to have. Just have it on the side. Do a 9 to 5 and just, do your creative hobby on the side. And that's something that a lot of people struggle with, especially creatives, taking that jump from a 9 to 5 to pursuing their creative career full time. And I do not suggest that everyone does it. It might not work for everyone, and that's something that not a lot of people like to hear. But being a creative is literally being an entrepreneur. If you want to do it full time,
Right.
you should be an entrepreneur. Like that's like starting an entrepreneurial journey. So if you do have that resilience, that grit, go for it. If you don't, cherish and nurture
what you have.
Yeah, what you have. Because if you jump into a full-time career as a creative, you might resent
your creativity,
and what you do. So that's always, something that I encourage creatives to kind of self-reflect on. But externally, other than it not being a respectful career, it's the lack of opportunities. The ecosystem is still
starting
building.
to learn.
Exactly. It's still taking shape. So it might be a risk. But for people that do take the risk, there's a lot of return on that risk. So it really depends on your appetite and
your resilience.
And your appetite for the risk. But at the end of the day, it's a beautiful sector. The people that I've met, the creatives that are doing such amazing work, such impactful work, whether there is an economic return, but other than that, there's a social impact. There's a community impact. Yeah. So that's what I love about the creative sector. It's not just art for art's sake. These creatives are problem solvers. They design and produce things that make our life easier, more beautiful, and brings communities together, makes you think, makes you engage. So again, I would think of it from an external point as well. The government is starting to think, very seriously, about this, which is great. In Kuwait, as an example, I started with the government in 2015, pushing for a creative economy strategy. Everyone thought I was insane and that I was wasting my time. And again, they would tell me, Inshallah hadich, why would you put yourself through this?
Yeah.
And I basically said, if no one is going to do it, then nothing is going to change. And it took me years upon years. But alhamdulillah, now we finished the strategy. We're actually implementing pilot projects. So in Kuwait.
Okay.
I like to play in decades.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a lot of delayed gratification. But change can happen. It just depends on how determined you are.
You've been trying with them since 2015.
Yeah.
And you're starting to see light now.
Yes.
How does it feel? Can I actually ask, how many moments did you reach to a time where you're like, not anyone telling you, but you telling yourself, like, okay, this is it?
Actually, no. Surprisingly, no. Because I could see it in my mind's eye. I could see it happening. And to me, it was just a matter of time.
Okay.
And I like to think of myself as being stubborn, but in a good way.
Okay.
You know, just like for positive change, for anything that's positive, I will be
You'll
stubborn
be
about,
stubborn about it.
yeah. And when there's a will, there's a way. And I could just see it. And I felt again it was a responsibility to especially the creative community that I was a part of to strive for that. And there was no doubt in my mind that was
That
going
it's
to
gonna
happen.
come through.
No.
Interesting. Okay. I want you to now tell me, we're approaching the closure of the session, but I would like you to maybe tell me through your journey so far, what was your hardest mountain, given I'm climbing in 2 days?
Inshallah.
uh, what was your hardest mountain that you have been through? And what's your next mountain?
Deep, deep questions, Joe.
And
Okay.
we don't do shallow. نحنا, we don't do shallow.
I guess the hardest mountain for me was the journey of going through starting the business, not knowing where it was heading, and that faith that took me along
It's
the
going
way.
somewhere.
It's going somewhere, and that was a continuous mountain. It's still a mountain at the end of the day, but that was the biggest challenge and the biggest blessing because it shaped me. It's still shaping me. And the next mountain, and we discussed this earlier, but I'm at a point where I want to kind of explore or transition into something else.
Okay.
I'm still not sure what it would be, but I hope that it would be a challenging mountain so that it could change me from
Help you
within.
as well.
Yeah.
So are you leaving Khaleejesque?
No, I don't imagine that I would.
Okay.
But maybe it's taking it somewhere else, elevating it,
To the
or
next.
yeah, doing something completely different. Who knows? I mean, everything is everything is possible.
It's really interesting. I don't think many people get it when you talk about um, not knowing when you first started, not knowing how, where. I don't
What's going
know.
on?
Eh, I don't know. Like people, like I remember when I first also started my own company. I think until today I'm still learning. Um, I'm still learning how to build a relationship with money.
Mm,
One of my biggest challenges is to reframe my relationship with money. I'm blessed to have amazing mentors in my life. Alhamdulillah. Mo and Shadi, those two guys, they're like my mentors, and they both have the moments that I go to each one differently.
mm,
You know, um, like Mo also just suggested that I read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. I started reading the book, but then I think the book triggered my relationship with money, and I stopped reading it.
okay.
So then he suggested I audiobook it. So I was on the Stairmaster for long hours the past week, and I started to audiobook it. And it basically also talks about the power of knowledge by naming it the power of weapons. You know,
Mm,
they reflected to it as the Japanese beliefs of the three powers, the power of weapons, and the power of jewels, and then and the power of the mirror. Uh, and I'm starting to I basically had that conversation with him yesterday. I told him, listen, I have to confess, like the reason why I stopped reading the book is it basically triggered my relationship with money, and we didn't have a very healthy relationship, me and money, um, because of how I viewed it, because of my subconscious and how my childhood um, made me view
mm,
money in a totally different perception, which is a very dangerous thing when you come to think about it as an entrepreneur. You know, it's
yeah.
like you start a restaurant and you don't like food.
What
You know, you start
really
a
work out?
right.
Yeah.
You start a business and you don't like, or you don't have a good relationship with money. It
Mm,
also doesn't play a big role in your favor. But then the moment you start to work on that relationship, you start to realize how important it is. But talking about mentors, um, who are your mentors?
Alhamdulillah, I've had so many amazing people throughout my journey. People that popped up, you know, when
Out
I
of
least
nowhere.
expected it, but really believed in me. It was always in professional settings, or if we collaborated on a project, and they would be my champions basically. They would tell me, listen, this is a great opportunity for you. Focus on so and so. They would bring projects to me. They would tell me things that I needed to work on. Very transparent to me, which I love.
Power of the mirror.
Exactly,
Things that I need to work
exactly.
on. Yes.
Yeah, so I've been blessed. I don't know where they came from, but they, subhanallah, just came into my
Just
life
appear.
in different times to guide me. And I really believe that things will align if you allow them to. Stop trying to control everything.
Right.
I'm in that kind of phase in my life where it's like no attachments, no resistance, embracing randomness,
Flowing.
flowing. Exactly. Subhanallah, yani, since 2 years I've been into this phase. Things have been coming to me on my lap, projects that I wouldn't have dreamt of doing. And again, I would think of three different things when approaching, all of these different projects that would come. Number one, would I pay them to be part of this project? Would I literally want to be part of this
Nice.
project? Will I learn? Will I grow by being part of this project? Are the people, good people, like fun people to work with or
Aligned with your
learn from?
values.
Exactly. Do our values align? And number three, is the work meaningful? Will it have a positive impact? And ever since I've been working on these three filters, it really has clarified the work and the people that I work with. And at the end of the day, it affirms to me that if you have the right intention, if you have the right energy, if you allow things to happen and not try to be too in control or have a plan for every single thing, who knows? Maybe there are other things that could be 100 times better than the things that you planned.
Yep.
Just right across the corner, but you're not
Allowing it to flow.
allowing it to come towards you. So that's exactly where I am right now. It's embracing the process, embracing randomness.
Okay. Love that.
Yeah.
Okay. So final thing I would love for you to share with us is before your final message, I would actually love for you to maybe talk to the creatives. Because again, I know creatives, they appreciate their work. They're definitely in love with what they do. I'm loving how this podcast as well, I hope, might serve the creatives around the region, maybe around the world, inshallah. Um, what would you tell them about the importance of feedback?
Oh, oh, you should love feedback. You should be, you know, asking for feedback at every single opportunity. However, you should be asking feedback from the right people, not just anyone. That's the difference. People should be comfortable, especially creatives, listening and accepting whatever is being shared with them. Don't take it too personally. I know it's a very sensitive project because everything is self-expression of your identity, of who you are. But at the end of the day, if you seek feedback from mentors, specialists, people that are working within the sector that you are in, yes, that's the right feedback that you should be seeking out. But seeking feedback from someone that has no idea about what you're doing, or if it's very subjective depending on their taste, what is that feedback going to give you of value? So be comfortable with feedback. Feedback is only going to make you better. And and embrace it. Because at the end of the day, if you don't listen and learn and want to grow and push yourself creatively, you're not going to take it, yeah, go to the next
Progress.
level. Yeah. And I always say, what doesn't challenge you doesn't change you. And who doesn't want to change for the better?
True. Yeah. The question is, who doesn't want to change?
It's not always the most comfortable
Oh yeah.
thing to do, but I feel that if creatives have it in them, have that resilience and not take everything, too personally, um, they will supercharge their creative careers.
100%. Because interesting
Yeah,
enough, like part of what creatives do is they actually are changing the world. But part of being able to change the world is to show the world that you're also okay with change,
exactly.
right? And feedback usually comes with change,
Hopefully.
right? So, okay. So, what I would like you to now share with the world is few words. Let me divide this for you. So let's drop in a message for your family.
Okay.
Let's drop in a message for the people you work with,
Okay.
your team. And let's drop in a message to the government and the private sector on what you would want from them, maybe. Right. So, what
Hmm.
support would you want from them? How would you see them supporting your cause? All yours.
Okay. You look at the camera. I don't look.
Yeah. You want to look at the camera? You want to look
Yeah.
at them? Look at them. It's fine.
No, I'll look at you.
Okay.
So to my family, I would thank them for putting up with all of my crazy ideas and supporting me all the way, and creating the most fun environment for any kid to grow up in. We're all kids at heart,
Yep.
which really, really allowed us to be creative, to imagine, to dream, of impossible things happening. And till this day, we're still, the same. And to that, I am so grateful for them for bringing that joy and that inspiration every single day. For my team, my incredible team, um, I would call them superheroes
And all
for
superheroes.
for all of the work that they do, for being so passionate and dedicated and disciplined and giving and wanting to elevate the creative communities across the region. It really is a selfless job working in the media,
Yep.
because it's all about giving and helping others, shine a light on them. And there's a lot of challenges dealing with different people and clients and all of that, but they have been going above and beyond. And if it weren't for them, Khaleejesque wouldn't be where it is today.
Inshallah, more to come for Khaleejesque.
Inshallah. And the last thing is the government and private sector.
And private sector. So basically
Okay.
the people that I would say they're your most
Decision
critical
makers,
external
yeah.
stakeholders.
Yeah. The decision makers, basically, government and private sector, I would urge them to get in touch directly with the creative communities on the ground, meet them, chill with them, hang out with them, understand what they're doing and why they're doing what they're doing. What is the purpose? Because if they understand that, they will, inshallah, have more of, I would say, motivation to make a change. Because at the end of the day, things can happen from top down. But I really do believe if you make it an organic thing,
Yep.
and really help the grassroots communities, especially when it comes to the creative sector, you will see the country, cities flourish. And we're already seeing it now. We just need to kind of accelerate it a little bit.
100%.
Yeah.
Any last words?
Thank you, Joe,
Thank you for
for
being here.
for
بالعكس.
being such a wonderful light in everyone's lives. I feel the impact that you have and all of the purposeful work that you're doing.
Appreciate
And I
Thank
wish you all of the success in everything that you do.
Thank you so much. So thank you for being with us and for sharing your beautiful story. I love the twist that the pod took. I think this is one of a kind episode. Where we are speaking directly to creatives out there, where we're also talking to people in government, in private sector that constantly follow us. They listen to our journey. And I hope that this will maybe give everybody that's listening to us something to think about. That will help also you in achieving your mission and helping people who have passion put it into place and push it forward. So before we close, I'd love to again thank SurfCorp for having us today in their amazing office space at Tornado Tower in Doha City. I'd love to thank Brill Productions as well for being with us today and in basically helping us in the production of the episode today. Please, everybody, don't forget to follow and subscribe to our different channels, our YouTube and the different audio channels where you can find My Life Map podcast with our different amazing guests. Again, I would love to thank Fouz for being with us today. And till we see you in the next episode, which I will be shooting after my return from Kilimanjaro. Send us the vibes to peacefully and successfully summit, the highest point in Africa. Till then, we thank you again. Have an amazing day.